So, it's the end of an era. Otamendi has left Manchester City Football Club. More like Otamendi. Sorry. Basically, Nicolas Otamendi has joined Benfica as part of the Ruben Dias deal. And do you know what? I actually am a little bit gutted in a way, I guess. I guess it shows that the cyclical nature of life and football, that things do move on and we do progress. Even if some things aren't quite as popular as other things, they are still something that you grow to love in its own way. And Nicolas Otamendi, after 5 years at Manchester City Football Club, is no longer a Manchester City player. And I want to say in this video, thank you to Nicolas Otamendi. I'm going to go through his general legacy and all that kind of stuff, but largely, I do want to use this video to try and put a little bit of respect on the general's name and all that kind of stuff, because I think actually overall this guy ended up being a pretty decent signing for Manchester City Football Club. I think we've been skewed by having some absolute incredible world-class greatest of all time kind of signings from the era of likes of Aguero and Kompany, Fernandinho, David Silva and so on. And sometimes you are allowed to just accept that 32 million for a player like Nicolas Otamendi in the end starts to look like good value. Genuinely believe that at the end we had a good transfer out of Otamendi. He was at some points one of the best defenders in the league, and I genuinely hope people remember that. Of course, towards the end of his reign at Manchester City, he got increasingly rash, he got increasingly reckless, and I think it's fair to say that we all kind of wanted him to move on. But it doesn't mean we have to pretend that at any point he wasn't anything other than a very good defender for us. He was genuinely fantastic at one point, and he does leave something of a pretty good legacy, if we're being honest. Look at his general trophy record: 2 Premier Leagues, an FA Cup, 4 League Cups, 2 Community Shields as well. And he also was actually in the Premier League Team of the Year in 2017 and 18. He was absolutely fantastic in the 17-18 season. Genuinely possibly the best centre-back in the league that year, getting into the Team of the Season. And that season, he basically just defined what Otamendi was about when he was at his best. He really was the general for us. He really was a worry. He really was absolutely fantastically determined and ultra reliable that season, and genuinely that is one of our greatest sides ever, possibly our greatest sides ever. The Centurion season, he was a massive part of that, and what more can you say other than give him the credit that he actually deserves? I mean, what we've accomplished over the years, it genuinely wouldn't have been possible without him. I know he hasn't been perfect at all times, but he has been a big part of the squad, and I want to make sure we respect his legacy in that sense basically. And I guess he also gets some criticism that I guess others don't really. I mean, okay, I know Stones does get some criticism, and this isn't a popularity contest, but some people do prefer Stones to Otamendi, despite Otamendi being much more reliable overall. I was looking at Otamendi's injury record, and I couldn't really find it. The guy is just never injured whatsoever. He's the kind of person that you would expect would just play through pain, and I'm pretty certain he's done that on numerous occasions. He's literally the old school type. He would bandage his head up and all that kind of stuff, and you put him back on the pitch, and he would play constantly. And I do admire that low-fuss, kind of low maintenance attitude that Otamendi brought to the team in general. There is something to be said about having a player that you can just literally rely on to be there at all times and be a part of the squad. And I also want to talk about how Otamendi did actually improve a lot more than anyone really deemed possible. When Guardiola came in, he apparently was quite keen on the idea of moving Nicolas Otamendi on, but he was really impressed, allegedly, over Otamendi's improvement in training and his willingness to take on board the style that Guardiola wanted to play. Apparently, coaches were quite literally astounded by how well he picked up the passing traits that Guardiola wanted, and how quickly and how willing he was to learn, and how capable he was to learn in the style that City wanted to play. And fair play to him. That is only on Otamendi himself as an individual. That is only on his ability as basically a consummate pro to actually go learn it despite his age at the time. And as well, I mean, how can we not give him credit? He actually scored a winner at Old Trafford. I'm sorry, a whole bunch of trophies, 210 appearances, and a winner at Old Trafford. I mean, I'm sorry, that's enough to put him in the good books for me personally alone. I mean, Otamendi also actually at some point, he was kind of like a goal-scoring defender, which was kind of really useful. I mean, he got 6 goals in one season. Yeah, one season he scored 6 goals. And he had that pretty iconic celebration as well. And he had that kind of incredible ability to just kind of like power headers into the top corner. Really, really satisfying heading technique, and he didn't really often let us down. Okay, I do know towards the end he did start to become a little bit of a liability, and he spent more time in his arse than he did on his feet at times, which is incredibly painful to watch. But I can't really deny his overall contribution. He never really complained about not getting football. He was never demanding loads of money for new contracts. He was never in the press being a pain in the arse. There was never any trouble off the pitch or anything like that. He genuinely was just there. He genuinely gave it his all times. And even if his all sometimes was a little bit too exuberant, we always know that he gave a shit and that he would actually throw his head in front of anything. He'd throw his head in front of every boot. He was kind of like Phil Jones in that way, but actually kind of good, which I think sums up Otamendi in a nutshell, really. Phil Jones, but actually good, you know? Phil Jones was committed and all that kind of stuff, but largely absolutely useless and a calamity waiting to happen. But Otamendi at one point was actually good at doing that. It's worth saying, I mean, like 15 years ago, this guy might have been our best player, full stop. Definitely our best defender. I mean, I've put it this way, I think he's been a damn sight better value for money than some of the centre-backs in the Premier League in general. He's been better value for money than Mangala, if we're being totally honest. He's been better value for money than Stones for us. He's definitely a miles better for money than Maguire. I know obviously there's 5 years difference, 4 years difference between the signings, but literally less than half of the price of Maguire, and he's a better player. I genuinely think he's been a better defender of Manchester City, and the heights that he reached in 17-18, it's all like Maguire could never genuinely reach. Now, of course, he isn't Aguero, he isn't Kompany, all that kind of stuff, but sometimes you are allowed to go, do you know what, overall, he was a good signing, and he's been very useful for us, and at times, honestly, I do believe he probably would have walked into any other team in the Premier League. That 17-18 season, any other team would have killed to have Otamendi, genuinely. He would have walked into most teams in the Premier League last season as well. Maybe not Liverpool because they had obviously relatively settled defence and all that kind of stuff, but everyone else would have took him in a heartbeat and they would have played him, I guarantee you, and that isn't too bad at all. Otamendi has not been perfect, but generally, once again, what we've accomplished would not have been possible without him. He got into a team of the year, he won a couple of the Premier League trophies, he won 4 Carabao Cups, an FA Cup and a couple of Community Shields, and he scored some big goals, winning us an actual derby at Old Trafford. I mean, what's not to love about that? Otamendi, you were rash, you were crazy, but you were a bit mental, but you were our mental bastard at times, and sometimes that means something. I'm always going to have a little bit of a soft spot for Otamendi because I think overall he's been a pretty good signing. He hasn't changed the game or anything like that for Manchester City, and he won't go down with the same legacy of Vincent Kompany, of course, or anything like that. But after, Kompany, Laporte's probably pushing it close, but after Kompany, he's probably been our best centre-back signing, genuinely. I mean, I can't really think of anyone else who's done quite as well in the modern era, at least Manchester City. Laporte, maybe, definitely. Stones hasn't been as good as Otamendi as overall, in my personal opinion. Don't get me wrong, I like Stones, but Otamendi's had a whole season of brilliance at times. And I can't really think of anyone else other than that. I mean, Lescott was pretty decent, Mangala was terrible, and Nastasic was nowhere near good enough. Largely, Otamendi's been a lot better than we realised. Obviously, he can be a pain in the arse, but at least let's put a little bit of respect on his name. He's also gone to Benfica, and that's crazy as well. We gave him allegedly a 2 million sweetener. What that means is that essentially we paid the wages that Benfica couldn't afford. I heard a rumour that the only thing that was holding the Dias deal up, and hopefully Dias comes in and be a lot better, and I'm sure he will. Then go check out my match. Go check out my reaction to Dias signing, by the way. But the thing that was holding that deal up is that essentially Benfica couldn't afford to pay Otamendi. So City, I think they're giving a little bit of a sweetener basically to go €2 million to go to Benfica, which essentially will cover the lost wages. And do you know what? He's earned it. He's earned it for being a pro, for being loyal, for being really hard working, and being popular at Manchester City, and helping us guide us through possibly the most successful area in Manchester City's history. So he was a warrior, he was our general, and you know what? I can't really criticise him for that. Thank you to all the patrons and all that kind of stuff scrolling down the side of the screen. Thank you for supporting this channel. I've done loads of videos recently. I hope you're enjoying the content. It really, really means a lot if you can help support a little bit on patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany, or sign up for YouTube memberships. It's been great. Thank you so much for 44,000 subscribers as well. Hopefully get to 45k. I'm only a couple of hundred away from beating Blooming Horizon, which would be absolutely amazing. My former channel, meaning I'm possibly the biggest Man City fan channel on YouTube, which would be really nice for a little ego boost. But anyway, the only way I can see it's fitting to sign off for Nicolas Otamendi would be if I got on my arse and slide tackle. No, I'm not going to do that. I just want to say thank you so much to the General. Good luck at Benfica.